Let's begin. Come on, David. Oh, really? So you can train, you just can't. Where's Knox? He's not here. Okay. We're going to be starting from close guard today. Close guards, as I always talk about, a very useful guard that people kind of forget about. They think of it as an old school thing, it's outdated, whatever. We've been using close guard a lot lately to get good results, just to grab hold of somebody. The difference between you being this close with your hips and being this close with your hips when seated guard situations like this is substantial. So it doesn't seem like much, but if you can pull yourself into a situation where you're now got your legs wrapped around them, your hips are substantially closer, and this is what we're after. Now, we often talk about the idea that what his goal should be from here is to gain height all the way to standing position. Now I start to lose my ability to do stuff to his arms, and then he starts to split my legs open, and now he kind of knows that he can go into open situations. Okay, so we're gonna have a look at that in a moment, but obviously we want to limit that. So a skill that a lot of people don't consider is the ability to actually keep somebody down. So he wants to make meaningful frames against me so that when I'm trying to keep him down, he can lean against me and he can start to stand up. And what I want to do is always be disrupting those frames. So we've practiced this plenty of times, but just this idea that I'm always knee pulling, but just knee pulling directly into frames doesn't achieve a lot. He can always just keep his frames strong and you don't go anywhere. You can pull all you like and eventually you're just kind of tiring yourself out. But if I can remove one of these frames, so Gulami works the same thing, I'm trying to knee pull and I can remove a frame. Now I can start to really get somewhere, okay? So don't just think knee pull as hard as you can is what we want to try to do to actually break him down here. We have to disrupt frames. Now, if he was not framing, let's say he started to take his hands away, now I can knee pull, all right? And with a knee pull, I'm always pulling over one of the shoulders. Try not to directly pull him forward, always over one shoulder or the other. So we can disrupt frames by coming on the inside. One of my favorite methods is to drag it across and take elbow two-on-ones and start to work into situations where we either get elbows across center lines or he has to pull his elbow back to his hip, in which case he doesn't have a good base and we can start to break him down. This idea of constantly knee pulling, what he should be trying to do is as I'm trying to knee pull, he pops up to his feet. And at this stage, things are getting difficult. I'm starting to lose this guy. All right, so let's start with the idea of working knee pulls successfully, disrupting grips, using different methods to disrupt grips. Then we're going to look at the idea that he starts to build height. Once he builds height to 1, you've got to assume 2's on the way, and then now he's up. So what we're going to try and do, as soon as one leg pops up, and we realize, okay, it's a bit late to work knee pulls now, we're going to start to take scoops. And I'm going to take my head, so I'm going to keep my guard locked, I'm going to take my head, I'm going to go elbow deep that direction. I'm going to start to try and pull his foot up towards my ear. And then we're going to look at the idea of trying to dump him down to his ass from this situation. You get this kind of awkward little dump here, and then from here you've got to battle for height. Now the only benefit here is that I'm effectively on top of him. Now he'll be framing on me, that makes sense. But if I can start to open feet and then get a height advantage, this becomes a real issue for him. As he tries to get up now, his feet are left behind. And you can start to win the top position. So we're going to start out by winning the battle with frames. And if we win the battle with frames, we can go to work into all the things we like to do from guard. Then what's going to happen, your partner's going to start to build height, and it'll normally be one then the other. That's just how it works. As that happens, we're going to leave his frames in position, and we're going to come out to an angle, and we're going to scoop the leg and bring it towards our ear, and then we're going to bridge him that direction and sit him to his hip, knock him down. From here, I'm going to build height, okay? He's going to be pushing on me, that's fine. I'm going to start to build height and open my legs up. And I'm just going to get my hips higher than his. And as he tries to get on top of me, I'm going to start to come up and try and knock him over onto his back. All right, get a partner, let's give it a go. Let's start with this. Okay, so now I know a lot of you are thinking close guard, whatever, you know, I'm a fucking false sweep player or whatever. Close guard is something that you can go to in a match when everything else is failing and you can get hold of somebody. So please don't discredit the idea of using our close guard. Now, let's look at the idea that we're getting nowhere really with our framing and we're just going to open our legs up. Now we've got to recognize when we open up, he's going to pop back, put a knee in the middle and just start to go back to passing. Okay, so he's not, if he's smart, he won't stay down on his knees for any meaningful period of time. So our job is to get some working grip so we're attached to him so that as he tries to move, at least we're attached to him. We're not going to open up and then go looking for working grips with the hands and now he's gone on us. So we're going to do the same thing as we did before, but we're not going to wait to take the scoop for him to stand up. We're going to take it first. I'm going to take my hand and just start to pummel the back of my hand inside his knee and start to take my head that direction, just like we did before. Now what you'll notice is his hamstring and his calf will be glued together. So you might find, keep your frames in position, you might find that you can't get all the way into a position where there's access under there. So we're going to have to open the legs up at some stage. So about here, my legs start to open and slightly, don't move, I'm going to slightly off balance him so that I can make access into the back of the hamstring. So we're going to look for something like this. And now we've got options. If I can bring my knee and swivel my knee across the body, I get this X-type position across his body. Now when he tries to drive into me, it's actually quite difficult. I take my second hand across the body and grip palm to palm. If he tries to run away from me, he's going to give me what I want. He's going to start to expose his legs. So at this stage, he's got to really mind his manners. He's starting to get into trouble. So we join our hands, we pummel our knee inside his knee, and now we start to push him back at a 45, back over this direction. So I pull his knee to my chest, and I start to expose like this. Now be careful, at this point, he's going to want to just run and rip out and kick his leg free. So we're going to make sure from here that we're in a good spot to go to work. What we're going to do initially is throw our leg into the back of the hamstring, and we're going to start to expose. From here, we're going to start to pull his ankle outside the line of his knee. The more straight his leg is, the more difficult it is to control. The more you can put a bend in the leg, the more hard it is for him to run. So don't even worry about the leg lock yet. Just worry about getting connection to this guy. So we got to here. At this point, you want to be passing the foot under your armpit for a heel hook, but more often than not, he starts to backstep. So all we're going to do is just go with him and put our instep on the inside of his belly, kick him away, and then from here we can start to follow up with 50-50 or X legs or anything like this. But just make your focus initially getting hold of the guy. So we're now working into a K-guard situation while our opponent's on his knees. So we're here, he's framing up, and we're getting nowhere. So I'm going to start to look for this scoop, and if I can pull him forward and make access before I open, this is great. From here I open, and I start to swivel my knee inside, and I put my shin across, and I'm making tension. Now some of you are going to think, well, what if he drives into me here? We can look at this in a moment. We're assuming initially that I can put my shin inside. I bring the knee to my chest. From here, the foot comes across the body, and I start to throw into a backside position. As he backsteps, I put the side of my foot on him, and I kick him away. And then from here, we can start to lock into 50-50, X legs, wherever we decide to go. Let's give it a go. So you can see one of the most effective ways to work from the closed guard, obviously attacking the upper body, going into arm locks, triangles, exposing the back, that's great. And we'd love to do that. But people they mind their manners, they're fucking strong, they're jacked, they've got no shirt on, they're slippery. So the upper body can be difficult, but attaching yourself to the lower body, and people just generally aren't as skilled at defending the lower body as they are at defending the upper body. That's just how it is. So we're looking at this idea of going to the K guard. We'll work from him on frames because that's how it's going to happen. We start to come out here and we start to get into this position like this. Now, we've talked about this plenty of times before. What he might do instead of running away is he comes into you and turns his knee to the ceiling. What he wants to do here is take away your ability to throw your leg into the backside. So he's trying to do this and trying to come back in and maybe address you, cross face, get his leg back, whatever. Okay, so if we recognize the back of the knee is not there for us and he's turning in, what we're going to do is start to pass the leg to the other side of the body. So all we're going to do is just going to reach underneath here for a variation of undercross. Now he's going to want to put weight on that leg, and the heavier the leg is, the harder it is to move it around. So what we're going to do here, as I make that pass, I'm just going to push him so his weight goes onto his other knee slightly. So from here, I come inside, I push him slightly, not where I lose him, but just enough to lift the leg and make it light. And now I pass, and I straighten my arm, and then I grip up here in a shotgun type grip. And I grip up on the ankle on the far side, and we've got ourselves in a what we call a 70-30 position. Now, we could reboot going to the back side here, all right, because the back of the knee's there. If I feel his knee is pointed towards the ceiling whatsoever, we're not going to try and climb over the back. We're just going to go to the back. And this is kind of what you saw Levi do with Chen in their match, where from here, he pummeled his knee inside. Effectively at this stage, I've now flanked him and gone to his back. Now I've just got to attach myself to him. So as I extend the knee away, I come off my shotgun and I get to his hip. Then I let go of the ankle on the far side, I shoot him away and I get to his hip with the second grip. And now we're here. Now we're in a rear body lock. Now he's in fucking trouble. If he falls to his hip, I'm just going to get on top of him. If he tries to run away, he's just going to pull me up. Go. He's going to pull me up and I'm going to start to come up and flank him behind and go into the back. Either way, this is pretty low risk and high reward. So let's look what we're up to again. We're here, he's framing up. We go into scooping. We go into K-guard, his knee comes up. Immediately, I pass the leg and we end up here. I pass the knee, I get to the hip, and we start to climb. Try not to leave your legs behind and let him maybe sit into your legs, but even if he does, if he sits into the legs, this is fine. More often than not, you're gonna come up into top position anyway. Let's give it a go. Not too bad. Yeah. So, we're working from closed guard today and we're looking at the idea that we'd love to get in the upper body, but it's just not eventuating. And then we've been looking at the idea of starting to go into scoops before he builds height and starting to go into K-guards. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but just make sure you've got a cross frame in position. If you don't have a cross frame, he can always jam up chest to chest on you, and this can be, it's gonna shut down the K-guard, but we're gonna go into other things. But what can happen sometimes is you put your cross frame in, but you can't get your knee in. So you try to scoot your hip out, he comes forward on you, onto the frame, and you're having a hard time getting your knee in a position here. Now, if this happens, all we're gonna start to do is start to go into this arm, all right? If he comes forward on you, this arm has to be here, okay? If the arm goes on the body, if the arm goes on my body, like this, you'll find you can always pummel your knee inside. So he'll have to kind of come forward on you here, and this is where it can jam up and make it hard for your knee to come inside, but this is fine. You've got a good connection to him. All we're gonna start to do now is just make a kipping motion and start to take our hips out. And we're gonna start to move up onto our shoulders. And we end up in a position where that arm starts to become an issue for him. If he decides, I don't like this, and he rips out, now we just go back to what we were looking at before. If he decides, I don't like this guy trying to go to my legs and he tries to stay on me, your cross frame should do a good enough job where it allows you to whip your leg around the corner and catch your knee up here nice and high on his ear. Remember, the lower your calf is, the more likely your armbar fails. So he's driving in. If he gives me room for my knee to circle in, we go inside here. If he's driving forward, I just start to kip, and then I throw my leg into position. Now from here, I've got the beginnings of a lat juji. But lat jujis on the high side, on the head side, are not that good because people can turn out of them. But when he tries to hit a turnout and I've got a scoop on the leg, it's actually pretty problematic. So from here, I can start to pinch my elbow, grip up on my hamstring, and start to drive my hips. Normally he'll fall on his back to try and create a turnout, and we'll end up like this, and his thumb will start to turn down. Your job is to keep the thumb pinched up. Turn the thumb down for me, other way, like this. This is what he wants to do, and put it bending his arm the wrong, like the way that suits him. What our job to do is to pinch this back up and try to start to go into braking. If you feel like it's falling apart and you're like, oh, I'm not getting a break here, let go of the scoop, catch the thumb, and bring it all back and go back to traditional braking. Remember, the right arm on my right hip going to my right shoulder. All right, so lat jujis are great, and lat jujis on the low side are nearly unstoppable. Lat jujis on the high side can result in turnouts. Okay, so he starts to go. So let's look again. We're in the closed guard, and this time he comes forward on it. So I go here and I can't get my knee inside that I want. So I'm just gonna start to kip until I can get my leg into position, see if I can get a break from here. If I can't, he tilts onto his back, I'll continue to try from here. But look, I can feel the thumbs down right now. So I'm gonna start to follow him. He's gonna wanna turn out, so I bring everything back this way. If I try to break from here, his turnout should be successful. All right, so what I do is I bring the elbow to my other hip. As he tries to hit a turnout now, it's pretty difficult, and we can go into braking. Let's give it a go. Thing before we go live. So far, we started out breaking our man down. Then we looked at, he came out to a knee and we sat him to an arse. Then we looked at him on his knees and going to K-guard attacks. Well, something we haven't talked about yet, and we can't cover everything, but what if he does start to build to his feet throughout this series? Whether I'd started the scoop or whether he built to his feet and I was too slow to stop him and now he's up there. So let's have a look at that. So he starts to build up to his feet. At all times, as he's building height, if I feel I can't break him down, I'm always taking scoops. This is quite important. I'm connecting myself to him. I don't want to be just out here. There's no real, useful things to be done. And eventually he's going to open my legs up. It's just the nature of the position. All right, you could maybe edge your bets on a back sweep, a double leg back sweep. And this is great against low level guys. So it's something we still teach beginners, but scooping the legs and staying connected is probably a better idea. So he starts to build height. I go to a scoop and I start to come in here and he builds height, and I feel like, you know what, I'm going to lose this position. We're going to go into our K-guard from here, but what we have to be careful of is how high our hips are And as we start to try and climb around the corner here, there can be back exposure. Okay, you got to be careful. If he can stuff the leg between the legs, he can now go into stacking back. Do you know how to do a back take from here?
Yep, I think so.
Go.
Do it.
Oh no. Who can do this? Jump out, please, Knox. Sorry. Go and have a rest, go allow me. There's some fucking pressure on now. So I start to go here. He will put the leg between my legs and go into a back take, go. And it will start to scissor your legs up and expose the back. So, very good, Knox. So, nah, he's done now. So, we just need to be careful. Anytime I'm here and my hips are up, you're one step away from a back take. So let's just keep that in mind. All right, so I'm always thinking about that as I'm going into this position. But there's a lot of good attacks to be done here. And the other detail is not everybody's very good at that, but I think we're better off preparing they are good at that rather than hoping they're not. So anytime you have a scoop, you don't have a great ability to stop a back take. And then anytime you come up here and your knee goes between his legs like this is just back take central. So I never want to stay in positions like this, right? Kind of where I'm in basically like an outside ashigarami with a scoop. This is how you get your back taken. While ever your hook is still inside here, the back take is actually not on. As Knox tries to go to the back take now, he needs to get that foot out of there. If my foot goes between his leg and he puts that wedge in position, now it all turns bad. So that's what you need to understand. So this little hook here is pretty useful for us. So just keep in mind, if you get in a bit of a rush to bring this leg through here, this is where the back take comes up. So our job is to try to work from here. So instead of taking our leg between his legs, we're going to really resist that. We're going to put our hook on the far side and start to stretch him out and start to go into a more traditional backside entry from a standing position. And then we'll just reboot what we looked at earlier. As he starts to back step, I'm going to follow him through, and then we can leg lock, will come up into top position. So he goes into a standing position from the close guard. So we're here, he starts to stand up, I start to take scoops, I go here and I start to break him down. And this is how it's going to look. From here, we follow him through, and this will be the last thing we do. Let's give it a go. Thank you.